So I recently read this article online about when technology startups should hire their sales VP, and the author was saying that if you're interviewing a sales VP and this person is only talking about process and methodology, that probably would mean that that person wasn't going to be a good hire because they're more used to big organizations, and instead of only thinking about process and methodologies, they should be thinking about more tactical things and what is it they're going to do to grow the team, how they're going to grow the team, and the go-to-market strategy. And so on the other hand, the author also said that process, he believed that sales process was really important because that's what's going to help you grow and scale. And I found that messaging a little bit confusing and kind of contradictory. And what do you do when that happens? You go on LinkedIn and you create a poll, yeah, like everyone does these days. And I got pretty mixed answers. Yeah, so basically my poll was, at what point should a technology organization implement a sales process, methodology, or playbook? Yeah, these things go hand in hand. So what is a sales process? Sales process is the steps that you take to close a deal, what you do to qualify and close an opportunity. A methodology is how you do those things. Yeah, like you have value selling, medic, command of the sale, whatnot. And a playbook is basically all of this documented so that salespeople can learn it and put it to practice without forgetting. Yeah. And so, at what point should a technology organization implement these tactics? Yes, what I mean is process, methodology, and playbook. And the answers were very varied. So one option was they should do that. A technology startup should build a process, methodology, and playbook when it's just the CEO selling. And the second option is, well, it's actually when the CEO has a couple of salespeople that he's managing. And the third option was when you have a sales VP plus a couple of salespeople, which, by the way, you should wait, to have a couple of sales reps hitting quota until you hire your sales VP. That's what kind of makes sense. So basically, the results were CEO doing sales 33%, CEO plus 2-3 salespeople 33%, sales VP and 2-3 salespeople 17%, and something else also 70%. So pretty equal, yeah? So what does it say to me? It says to me that it doesn't matter at what stage you are in technology sales, you're going to need a sales process, a sales methodology, and hopefully you will try and begin to start documenting all of these processes and methodologies so that you can remind yourself to follow them and create also at the same time that document for when you're ready to pull the trigger and start hiring salespeople. So let's break down the scenarios. If it's just the tech CEO doing sales, should they have a sales process, methodology, and a playbook? Well, of course they should, because if you don't know what to do to progress a deal and close a deal and how you go about doing those things, chances are that you will try different things and with every opportunity and make things up and do things on the fly, and you will get different results. So predictability isn't going to be there, and chances are that you're going to be killing some of those opportunities because you don't follow a process. Maybe you forget to do something, things fall through the cracks and whatnot. So even if it's just the tech CEO doing sales, it's best practices that they will have a process explaining what is it that they do to progress and close deals. Now, the second scenario is the tech CEO already hired a couple of salespeople, or is thinking to hire those guys. So if you're thinking of hiring those guys and you don't have a process methodology and you don't have a documented way of doing sales, what's going to happen is you're going to hire people whom you think are pretty good doing sales, and you're probably going to hope that they come with a black book of contacts, and that if they know the sector, if they have their contacts, why am I going to interfere with how they sell? Why don't I just let them do their thing? And the problem with doing that is that every salesperson is going to try and do what they do best, and they're going to try different things with different opportunities, and they're going to try and progress those opportunities however they think is the best way, and they might not actually know what works for your product and your market because they didn't build it, they haven't sold it before. And so what used to happen to a client of mine, for instance, is he hired two very senior salespeople, and they were busy every week building some sort of great presentation for a big organization and pulling in all their resources and doing customized work to try and blow away this prospect from a big brand, and then they would never hear back from them. And they were drained, they were completely exhausted because of the amount of custom work they had to do to prepare for each call, for each meeting with every prospect. And so what we did is, we came in and we designed a process. What is it that they need to do to progress deals, and how they go about doing those things based on the value selling methodology and the knowledge that the CEO already had. And the main impact of doing those things, process, methodology, and documentation, is that now they had a framework for progressing opportunities. And not only they didn't have to do so much custom work because they were reusing the things that they had already created at each step of the process, i.e. presentations, canned demos, whatnot. But also they had a more scientific way of measuring where those opportunities were at, and what is it that they're trying to do, that we're going to try and do in the next meeting to progress and close that opportunity. So that was the main significant impact, right? So that's why it's important to have sales process, sales methodology, and documentation when it's a CEO and he's already hired a couple of salespeople. Now, what about the scenario tech CEO who's pretty successful selling, and they're thinking of scaling and hiring salespeople, and how they go about that process? Yeah. So the reason why you need a sales process, sales methodology, and documentation is because if you don't have that, again, the salesperson is going to come in, they're going to suck up all of your time trying to learn how to sell, which means that you're not going to dedicate as much time, doing sales yourselves. Productivity and sales are going to go down, and because you don't have a set process and set way of selling with what you do and specific ways of how you progress deals and what is it that you do and how you do those things, it's going to be very difficult for you to teach someone to effectively do those things, because not only you don't have them documented, you don't even have them defined. You don't even know what you do, how you progress those opportunities, how you're going to explain to someone and teach them. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of pain to do that. And chances are they're not going to get it, and you're going to have to fire them later down the line. It's about 55% of salespeople don't have the tools they require to succeed in sales. And in fact, to this specific client that I was working with, they hired 3 salespeople and they had to let them go 9 months later having sold nothing. And the cost for the organization was huge, and the personal impact as well was pretty bad. So what we did is, we came together, we documented, we defined this process, methodology, and documented the process, and then we went to hire a junior sales guy who started selling after 2 months. Yeah, we closed a 300K deal together. Now, probably that was a little bit lucky. There's luck in sales, of course, but the value that they got wasn't that 300K deal. It's the fact that that person is still today, 3 years later, he's contributing to sales consistently. He's consistently delivering sales today, 3 years later, right? And so that's the second scenario. The third scenario is when you have a sales VP and you have a couple of salespeople. I mean, if you have a sales VP, it's because you're planning to grow and expand. Yeah, that's the idea. If you're planning to grow and expand, you're going to need to hire more salespeople and you need to onboard them quick. And if you're going to have a sizable sales team, if you want that team to grow to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 salespeople, the sales VP needs to equip those guys with the tools to succeed and to ramp up and to avoid failed or long ramp ups. And how do they do that? Is by giving them a framework to work with, which is a process, what they do to sell, a methodology, how they complete those steps, and that has to be documented. And the benefit of doing this is twofold. Not only those guys will ramp up quicker, and the risk of a failed ramp up, i.e. having to fire that guy a few months later because they haven't sold anything, is going to decrease significantly. Also, the benefit is that as the sales team grows and you start to have 3, 4, 5, 6 salespeople, because you know how to sell and you have a framework for doing things, as a manager, you'll be able to help those sales guys hands-on to progress and close those opportunities, because you're going to be talking about the same language, because there's going to be a common language for doing sales, because there's going to be specific steps that you're going to be talking about and ways on how to do those things. And therefore, as a manager, you can brainstorm with them on how to complete those steps together, because you know what is it that you need to get from that opportunity to progress them. Yeah, whether that's a meeting and whatever that step might be. For instance, we need to access decision makers, so you can have a meeting with them and brainstorm how you're going to do that. Yeah, are you going to use modus operandi? Are you going to use negotiations, or how are you going to access those decision makers to get them on board? So now the conversation is more specific about steps of the sales process and progressing that opportunity, and it's not where is the deal at. What is the deal at? Where is the deal at? Yeah. So you add more value. And also the other benefit of that is because, no one is perfect at every single aspect of sales. Yeah. So maybe some steps are going to be harder than others for certain salespeople. So for instance, I've worked with people who really struggle to get to decision makers because they feel like they're alienating their contact if they ask them to talk to their bosses. So if you only by having a methodology and a set process, you will be able to spot that salesperson has a challenge with that specific aspect of sales, i.e. accessing decision makers. And only when you spot that as a manager, you'll be able to come up with strategies, training, and further support to help that salesperson overcome the hurdles and help them get to the next step, sales productivity. So there you go. We talked about 3 different stages of technology organizations and why they need a process, a methodology, and why do they need to document those things. Now, if you already don't have that, or you have it and it's not being followed and it's not working out, have a look at the comment section. We are going to be sharing the framework that we equip our clients with to help them achieve and do this successfully. And let me know in the comments if you are getting stuck, and I'll be delighted to help. Thanks. Take care.